St. Gregory was the man for the hour. He had been, as a son of a Roman senator, been formed in the cursus honorum, which led him to the topmost office in the Eternal City, prefect of Rome. But he had felt a call to the inner life, and after the death of his father, he transformed the family villa into a monastery dedicated to St. Andrew. He, however, because of his gifts, was seen to be useful to the Church of Rome, and he was sent as Apocrisarius to Constantinople. There he was able to do his best, not always with success, to defend the cause of Rome, because Rome actually was under pressure from the Lombards. He was also able to sort out questions of theology and orthodoxy. There was danger of heresy coming in under Eutyches, and he was always seen as a pillar of orthodoxy and is one of the four major doctors of the West. He was therefore, by popular claim, made Bishop of Rome itself, Pope, and he clearly understood the universal nature of his office. That is an important early bit of evidence with regard to the way that the Pope himself understood the nature of the office. It wasn't just for Rome, it was for the universal church. Servus servorum Dei, servant of the servants of God. But he always maintained his monastic awareness. He laments that it's difficult to have that same interiority, although he has a teaching which is eternally valid, that when the heart is watchful, the mind is, as it were, asleep with regard to all that is going on in the world. That is to say, that he's able to focus. Having said that, he finds it more difficult as Pope to be in that interiority which he had before, but he strives to do so. And as an example of someone who can actually be taken as a model for those who have many, many things to do, even when drawn out of their comfort zone, as it were, the protection of the monastic life. But he does warn that what happens is that one starts to leak, one starts to talk about many things. He, however, never lost the centrality of the cult, the worship. He would have been formed in the monastic life with its hours of prayer, the monastic hours, sung in those melodies which he codified, and therefore we still refer to the body, the corpus coming out of there, as the Gregorian chant. And when he saw these slaves for sale in the Roman market and asked where they were from, and he was told they are angles, he said, not angles but angels, and he was very much aware that they had to be evangelized. Well, when he did so, sending St. Augustine from the Celian Hill, possibly his own successor actually, a superior, with 40 monks, he did give them liturgical books, and he sent more books afterwards. And we must remember that we have the Gregorian sacramentary coming from that time, which is precisely a standardization of liturgy for the whole Western Bloc. So the fact that there was this close bonding in prayer and worship between Canterbury, dedicated of course to St. Peter, and the See of Rome itself is interesting. The monastic origin, therefore, of the Anglican Church is, or rather the Church of the Angles, is something which is interesting also in the way that later in time there was a desire, secret initially, to have Westminster Abbey under, or rather Westminster Cathedral under Benedictine monks as Westminster Abbey had been before, so that the prayer and praise of the centuries could be heard again in the centre of London. It was not to be, but that had been initially the desire, and the monks of Downside made a foundation in London, in Ealing, with that in mind. And we do know how this serenity given by prayer and praise does help considerably the service of the people of God. The parish was run by Ampleforth, and there was that extra bit there. The peace of the monastic centuries could be felt somehow there, as it could, of course, at Ampleforth itself. But then this element of being also available for the work of God comes through in what happens after the evangelization of England. For the likes of St. Boniface, Willibrord and so on are then able to act again over the continent and take the faith back over there to the areas that needed evangelization in the north of Europe. So it is not either or, but what has to be there is the anchoring in contemplation. Otherwise, it's pure activism, and that is the danger of our time. I remember in Rome feeling that both at St. Anselmo, where I used to spend quiet hours studying in the library, that was the big Benedictine place, and in our own place, the Norbertine College, not far away from it, that prayer and praise was the backdrop. It helped a lot. After all, one can enter into timelessness when with the books and also with the praise of the centuries. We had kept a lot of Latin, and it was something which took us out of time and placed us where we belong, eternal life. And when there, I wrote these lines, meditating on how these Gregorian melodies never age and never become hackneyed. Gregorian. There is a beauty in the heavens that here the earth has ever heard, whene'er this came from something in its soul. For ancient fear, at all the weight of being, ere the same, was felt, is felt, and will be felt with this, the sound of human sadness. And the years that travel on these lines, that hold the bliss of melody, all sensate, stroke the years. Not of a tympan's tremble, but of all that moves at something fair, there where we are, within, awakened by a call, sent by a fellow pilgrim from afar, for he cries out across aeonic sound of some deeper realm of music. music.